You have a goal. You want to accomplish something or you work on something great. But sometimes you feel that you go on YouTube and need to watch a self-improvement video. And there's a reason for that. And with this video, I don't explain you another curious detail about the mind and the concept that in the end will not change anything about your life. I will explain you why you always want to watch such videos and not focus on the work that actually matters instead. My name is Just Visser. I own a company that takes care on entrepreneurs' health. So what I basically do is boost their mind and body for maximum peak performance, and I only work with 7+ figure entrepreneur and elite athletes. So the concept I'm sharing with you are the concept of your life. So after this video, I don't know how long this takes, you never ever, and I mean never ever, need to watch a self-improvement video on YouTube back again. Okay? So that is basically the goal. With no further ado, let's jump right into it. What you see in front here is, you might be familiar with the picture, something from Carl Jung, concept of the self. And it basically explains the shadow and the ego. And if you are not familiar with that, I explain this for you in quick detail. But if you are, this is just to bring this up to your consciousness so you are aware about the topic I want to talk now. But for those who are not familiar with the topic, basically what your self is the ego, that is your outer conscious broadened persona that protects yourself in the outer world. Your shadow is the anima or the animus inside of you that is brought up by collective in the unconsciousness. So in other words, you have memories, you have trauma, you have whatever experience. Everything you did or your experience you put in is in this collective and is stored in the unconscious. And the unconscious can't be brought conscious, or it is really hard. Carl Jung said something: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And what Jung said is that the shadow is basically our expression of the unconscious. And the unconscious is more like your map, your guidance, your whatever. You know, simple example. You have now to choose a fruit. What is your choice? Well, you did not choose something random. You chose something on purpose because you had it in your collective and your unconscious has good, aka not bad memories with it. For example, I thought about blueberries because they are my favorite fruit. Why are they my favorite fruit? Because I ate them, and every time I ate them, they are good, and science says it too. And that's enough for my unconscious to say, yes, that is good for me. What we now need to understand that our ego is our conscious protector. So whenever we, for example, the whole looks maxing space is all about ego. In the community, yeah, let's flex your muscles. Let's show how many girls I've dated. That is all protecting. That is all ego brought out, especially by men, to protect this little unconscious collective shadow, to protect yourself. And the ego is actually the conscious action you take, like going to the gym, building the muscle, flexing with your money. That is all ego. But the only thing why you do this is because deep inside of you, you have something that is called the shadow, that tells you and guides you like a puppeteer and tells you what is good and what is bad. And there might be some people who are, now, oh man, that is bad, and oh man, that video is good. And the reason why you say this is not because maybe this video is good, maybe this video is bad. But the reason why you say this video is bad, because someone, you watch people who talk with whiteboard. You don't like me because, I don't know, I have a German accent. or I do not pronounce some words right, or I wear a weird pulley, um, or this lamp is annoying you, something bad, but I can't control it. So the only thing I can control is that I bring your consciousness back, and you don't judge everything you see. You only work and you only do it towards your goal. I know that sounds hilarious, but what we now do is basic. So easy. And that is actually, this is the whole self-improvement, health and business scene and mindset scene in one simple thing. We don't chase a goal, for example, a Lamborghini, because what do you do after that? How do you get it? You don't know how to get it. Somewhere you will get it, but in the end, you don't really care about the Lamborghini. Well, you care about why you have the Lamborghini. For example, for status. For example, for bringing it further on your ladder for a girl to flex, and that is your ego, and that's your unconscious, and that's even back down. What we do instead is, because it is all made by your current identity. And by the way, you're unhappy with your current situation, so your current identity is rubbish. We want to change the identity. And that is pretty easy. And changing your identity is actually not hard. You only need to accept two things. Actually, three. We have a currency. In our land, or in our country, or in the world, it is money. When it comes to creating an identity, or to shifting, or to change, it requires pain. To bring something, to create a diamond, you require pressure. And pressure is always made by pain, because our body doesn't want to change. We live in such great times that whatever personality and how rubbish it is we now have, our unconscious does not need to worry about survival, because all the basic needs are fulfilled. In the earlier years, we always had to change, but the pain we suffered was less worth than the pain we had when we didn't change. For example, hunting 20 kilometers in the ice is very painful, but when you have no food for a month, you will do it, because starvation and actually dying from hunger is insane in comparison to the work, right? And what we now need to do is, we need to hire our pain and say that our current situation we are in right now is bad, and we need to change. And if we not change, we are literally going to die. That is it might sound hard, but it is the only way how we can do it. And I talk with every successful man, and everyone tells you the same. They say no emotions, action, accept the pain, and if you don't change, you die. That is literally what they say. That is the essence of the world. That is the essence. Your emotions are only there to state your current situation. So what is good and what is bad is only good and bad in your perspective. So when you say a lasagna is bad because you are lactose intolerant, some other has lasagna as his favorite meal. And that is with everything. Of course, there are some, social accepted truths, like you should not murder someone or rob someone, of course. Okay? But in general, you need to understand that everything you perceive as good as bad in terms of emotions is only made by your unconsciousness. by your pain avoidance mechanism. But because we want to accept pain as our friend right now, don't care about emotions. And now we need to be aware of this. Jung also said something like, I don't have the quote right yet ready, but he said, if you want to break free from the social norm, what you are currently in, and go your own journey, you need to have a direct direction, a great plan, and be as structured as the social structure itself. So that means you watch, for example, YouTube. Why do you watch YouTube? It is easy, affordable, it is nicely structured, the algorithm is based on you, it is very easy to do, and it's very nice to, watch videos. It's pleasurable. It is the social norm, and social norm are always or most likely things that are easy to do. One of the biggest industries in the whole world are those that are the most short-term gratification thing. Look at the supermarket. What foods are most likely to get bought? Well, processed food, sugar, most of the time. Of course, there are some vegetables. Of course, there are some fruits. But there is a small percentage of people who actually buy whole foods all the time. And the reason for that is because they have a plan and structure to use them and don't follow the social norm and don't do what everyone else is doing. In order to do something out of the world, out of your comfort zone, you need to have a plan to go there. But don't be as too precise, only manage the things that matter. And that is when action comes in. We need now action and data. These are your two best buddies. You might now understand the concept of pain, of data, of that basically everything you perceive as bad and as good is only your fault, and no one is bad in your world, no one is good, everyone is only bad and good to you, and you decide who is good and bad. But if your life right now is rubbish or bad, maybe your choice or how you decide someone is good or bad or something is good or bad might be foolish. And we do this by now brutally working like a man and not like a little puppet, okay? We have our input, we have our process, and we have our output, and then we have the data, okay? So basically our input is so-called action, okay? Input equals action. Whatever you put in means what you do for action. When it comes to food, well, what is your action? What you eat. That is your input. The process is actually the thing that creates the output with the input. For example, you now want to build muscles. Okay? You have an input of food. You will go in a calorie surplus. The process is your gut that is, creating from the food the output. That's the muscle. And the data is the change you get on your goal from the input. That is basic, simple systems. Your whole life is the problem with your whole life is that it's a very, very confusing and very, very insane big system. It is very huge, it is very complex, and you don't have these simple actions like input equals output. It is not real. Therefore, this is only a mental construct, and it should only bring the focus on one thing. That you need to do things that work. And how do you know that? If you want to change your persona, or It only works if you change your persona. Your persona is who you are. It is part of your identity. It is how you look, how you appear, how you talk, how you write, how you work, how you do whatever. What you now do is you have a book. Okay? What I do, I have a journal. Okay? It is weird. Yeah. It's goofy. It's goofy as a man to have a journal and to talk about your emotions. Yeah, it is really bad to write them down, so to be emotionally free, and after that to reflect your emotions and take action according to them, instead of bringing the emotions deep inside of or digging or burying the emotions inside of you and always being mad about the world and about society and not even knowing why. Therefore, we change our persona, and we do this by making sure who we are. I told you that, the world is very, very abstract. It's very, very abstract. And when you see this here, we can be here in the world, here in the world, here in the world, here in the world, okay? And our goal is this here. To go from here to here, it is a whole different direction than from here to there. I know it looks very abstract, and it really is. But to understand the universe, you only need to understand two things: where you are, who you are, and your enemy. That is the goal. Or actually, your enemy, that is you, and your friend, that is your future person. I hate to talk about yourself, or I hate this positivity scene when you say, oh yes, I love myself, and you need to feel gratitude for yourself. But man, when you hate yourself, why should I? Why should I love myself? Why should I care about myself? And when you focus on this, I need to feel good thing, and not focusing on actually becoming or getting the things you want to get, you are in a negative loop. Because what you do is, you are here, want to get here, but what you do instead is, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Instead of going outside of your bubble, feeling like rubbish, taking action, and achieving this goal. And this goal is just the identity. So, for example, 3 years ago, I could barely speak English. I was too young, I had no beard, so in front of the camera, no one would understand. So I was here, but I did not say, yeah, I'm good. I learned English, I changed my appearance, I changed my knowledge, especially when it comes to the deeper physiological body and brain complex, and I took the action. But the justice 3 years before couldn't do that. And right now I'm scaling my company. And the justice right now cannot do it. Because if you have a goal and you didn't achieve it yet, you are not the character who can. Because if you could, or if you could do it, then you already would have it. That's the pure fact. Of course, some things take time. Yes, to be in shape, this takes time. But you only can get there if you want to be the person. Look at bodybuilders and their mindset, how they talk, how they appear, how the feelings they have, the passion over the sport. Do you have this? No. Look at Brian Johnson. The passion he has when he talks about some stupid thing like a mushroom or nutrition or sleep. The passion he has to tell yourself that you are another person. Stupid, right? But that is what it takes to be in their position. So if you aspire someone, for example, Cristiano Ronaldo, and you want to be like him, then you need to take the action. The action only can be spent with these two things: your energy and your time. We only have a limited amount of energy throughout your day, and you can, for energy there are a variety of definitions, but in basic terms, energy is the thing you give your attention to, and your body, your mind, and your brain spends time on. And time is only the length or the block of energy that was spent over duration, basically. You can't expect to be Cristiano Ronaldo without taking the same amount of time, the same amount of energy, and third component, the same amount of focus. Focus is actually the energy you can spend in a single time unit. For example, a really focused human being is able to maximize his energy input over time. For example, you have 100 energy for your day, okay? And you have one goal. You have time, let's say 100 time units. We are going, you notice this video is very abstract. 100 time units, okay? A very focused human being spends one energy per time unit, okay? Every single time unit, one energy. So after the day, he spent 100 energy 100 times. But a less focused human being is someone who spends only, I don't know, every 10 time units, one energy unit. So that basically means he only spends 10% of his time to it. That means this human being here, the focused one, gets 10x faster to his goal. Okay? But how can you make sure that you always have energy and you always have time? Well, time, you have a personal life, you have a professional life. Get basically rid of everything that you don't want. So if you have a friend you don't like, or if you have a family member you don't want to see, then don't do it. You have one life, and if you don't understand this concept that you only have one life and you live once and actually no one cares about you, so take the action you want to do, then you are already cooked, sorry. And only or actually cut out everything you have and only spend time on the things you need to. So I, for example, today woke up at 7. We now have 1, and the only thing I did is eaten, yes, obviously, eat food, drink water, and work. And I do this now for 6 more hours, and then I spend time with my girlfriend, and that is a perfect day for me, and that is amazing. And if you don't feel that, or if you feel that you waste some time, of course there might be something like school or university that you need to do, but is there actually something you need to do in your life besides of eating, sleeping, and drinking water? No, it is only, or you only take the actions because someone else taught you so. That should not mean that you don't go to school or to university or whatever, but only want to say this: time is always your decision. And with energy, most of the people waste energy by not controlling themselves, by not being disciplined. Social media, not eating healthy food, not sleeping enough, not filling up your energy stores and not, or basically emptying them pretty easy. That is what 99% of the population does. Once this is fixed, you can just work on your goal, and that's it. And you know your goal when you understand yourself. And the thing with that is now, I strongly recommend you to read the best authors in the world and biographies of the insanest people in the world, and documentaries of, or watch documentaries of someone like LeBron James or Michael Jordan or Michael Phelps, someone like them. Read how Napoleon conquered the world. Read Marcus Aurelius. Read Nietzsche. Read Jung. Read the greatest man of the world. Because their thoughts are so in depth that the thing you consume, the thing you put in, their knowledge, is what you bring further ahead. Jung, when you read Jung, you get to know yourself better. Not by watching someone like me, because Jung said things on such a deep level that comparing me with Jung, or this video with Jung's books, for example, actually I have it in my room. Yeah, but here's a different book. Archetypes. Um, Reading them is insane. It is really insane, and it helps you to understand yourself, and that's basically what life is. And the cool thing, or the problem with life, is that everyone thinks that there is an end, or that there is the point where you say, oh, now I'm comfortable. But when you are comfortable, what do you do? Probably nothing. And therefore, you only have this one life, the one growth. Be aware about that. Be aware of your time. Be aware of your energy. Be aware of your life. Be aware of what you want. Be aware of the identity, and only focus one identity. Only chase one identity. If you want to be like Jeff Bezos and Cristiano Ronaldo, congratulations, you can't do that. They are the top tier in their area. So to get there, you need to spend top input, time and energy. And you don't have this. You only have one lifetime. Is that everything I want to say? Oh, now, one more thing. Now, how can we make health easier in our life? So I talk now about energy and time, okay? And energy is very important, because cutting out your life is pretty easy, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But then there is the second component, that is energy, and that is basically what health and longevity is, restoring energy. But our mind most of the time manipulates us. And I want to make a separate video about this topic, but I think in 2-3 minutes I can explain this easily. You have now, your ego, you have your shadow, and then you have now food, gym, and sleep. Okay? And these are the ego justice, the shadow justice, the food justice. And no, I'm not talking about some psychotic multi-personality disease, but in a small effect we create those things. We now get so conscious about our actions that even now that I talk, or even now that you listen to me, you go in your mind and say, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Who I am? What's next? What to do? And if always there comes a negative action or a weird action that logically does not make any sense, for example, posting your car on social media, Logically, no reason for that. Why should you post it on social media? There's always a deeper purpose for this. Your shadow. Whenever you do something you don't want to do and you have no control over it, for example, I can't not say I cannot say no. I want to end the relationship, but I can't. I want to eat healthy, but I can't. Always understand why you do this, and then that is the thing. Sometimes there are things that can't be controlled by the ego and by the shadow and needs to be made in this area. We can also create this here. These 4 areas need to be nailed in your life, okay? When you nail them, then you only can work on these things. That is a concept that I found out recently, and that is basically, or I believe that is something that is so hardly overseen by people like Jung and Freud and whoever, that you live, or your soul lives in your body, and your body is the first thing your soul works on when it suffers. For example, when you eat unhealthy, your shadow is not actually working on some childhood trauma. Your shadow indirectly works on the lack of nutrition in a way, and that's the response for that. Therefore, food justice, gym justice, stress justice, sleep justice always need to be aware that these 4 areas are amazing. Because when you are not eating healthy, when you don't exercise properly, especially as a man, when you don't sleep great, when you don't manage your stress properly, you can't work on these areas. How do you expect to think about who I am or who you are, what your ego is, why you do this, when you eat McDonald's all day long, when you don't walk any steps, when you are constantly stressed, have high cortisol, have low HRV, and when you sleep only 4 hours? It is impossible. And therefore, you need to create these 6 identities. And basically, these are only that what you already learned, the ego, and the shadow, writing down, discovering, doing why you didn't, or reading books, simple stuff. And these are the 4 identities you now need to develop to be conscious about the actions you do. And this is the food. For example, yes, I'm hungry. What do I eat? And then you are conscious about the action. And then you always have the ideal food. For example, your name is Freddy, the ideal food Freddy in your mind. That means now you don't do it with emotions, what you eat. Yeah, I feel like eating chips. No. Food Freddy tells me, let's eat some broccoli, chicken, and rice. Or let's eat some oatmeal with protein powder and berries. Because it is scheduled and planned, and Food Freddy will do it, so I have an amazing life. And no worries, ego Freddy and shadow Freddy, it is all good. It is my job to do this. So you give basically in your life little employees in your mind, or you have little employees in your mind, and they take care about every area. For example, Gym Justice, in my way, he listens to weird music, really weird music. But this music, over years, developed this character trait. So whenever I listen to this type of music, the gym justice activates, and I'm pushing far harder in the gym than normal. With sleep, every evening, I know sleep justice, it's okay. Ego justice, anxious justice, work justice, it's okay. My job now, I now need to take care about lowering stress with stress justice and cooling down, taking care of my breath. And so you have these 3 identities, probably 4, but stress justice actually is someone who is always there. And they take care about your life. And so you easy, simple, practically direct actions to people. But this person is actually you. You are this, but You need to bring these areas in big blocks like sleep or like nutrition or like stress and manage this with your identity. And the only way you can do this, that is the last word I have to say today, is by data and track. Okay. When you don't know how long you sleep or how good you sleep, with what action, when you don't know what you ate, when you don't know what you do for stress recovery, it's over. And that's with everything in your life. You can go so deep in this level with data and feedback and, to optimize your input. Because sometimes you take action that your ego directs and you are not even aware of that. For example, I was in the only eat raw honey scene for a year. I guess 2 years before, when I start out working in this health area. I was there. I believed it was right. And the only thing that could bring me out of this was that my progress, my goal I made before I joined it, was not achieved with it. It did not work. So I realized, oh, they are a fraud. And as soon as something does not work for you, you might change it. Love you all, bye.